Hey, how's it going guys? My name is Ray and welcome to my channel. This is the place for us home cooks to learn and improve together to better our everyday cooking. And that's why in this channel I'm gonna be sharing my weekly favorite recipes. And if you're into that, maybe consider subscribing and don't forget the bell button so that you'll know when a new video is out. So having said that, this week's video is gonna be about chawanmushi. It is a savory Japanese egg custard dish that typically contains some vegetables as well as seafood. But even though it's commonly associated with being a seafood dish, it just basically means steamed bowl. So that's why I've decided to go a little bit quirky with my chawanmushi today and make 3 different toppings for my chawanmushi. I'm gonna make one vegetarian topping, second one is gonna be based on beef sukiyaki or gyudon, and last but not least, and this is a total rogue, bacon. Let's cook! To make my life easier, I'm gonna go through all the preparations first here and steam them together later. So here we go. For the egg mixture, we're gonna start by cracking 3 eggs into a bowl. Give it a good mix until it's homogeneous. Then measure it into a cup. This is gonna let you know how much dashi you're gonna have to put in. Basically, you wanna aim for 1 part egg to 3 parts of dashi. So if your egg comes up to 3/4 of the cup like mine, simply add 3 times that to the egg mixture. I'm just using an instant dashi stock here, so you don't need anything fancy. A simple dashi powder would do. And of course, if you're a vegetarian, you would have to swap out this dashi stock with a vegetable broth or mushroom stock. But you can use the rest of this recipe as it is, because I'm pretty sure they're all vegetarian. Then just give it a good mix and let the steam fog up your camera in the process. Here, let me help you out a little bit here. And to that, just add 1 tablespoon of soy sauce and 1 tablespoon of mirin. Then give it another good mix. And we don't want any big air bubbles in the mixture, so I'm just gonna strain it out to get rid of the bubbles as well as any clumps of eggs that doesn't get mixed into the mixture. This is one of the key components to making an extra smooth chawanmushi. And to ensure the success and the smoothness of your chawanmushi, you can go another extra step like I'm doing here and go strain out any of the air bubbles that's still left in there. Or you can even use spoon to help you with that. Now for the topping. For the vegetarian one, I'm gonna start by pre-cooking some shimeji mushrooms. You don't have to do much to it, just tear it up like so and fry them over medium-high heat with a little bit of oil. And we're just gonna season it with 1 tablespoon of soy sauce and 1 teaspoon of mirin to concentrate the flavors. And once the mushroom has caramelized nicely like that, that's pretty much it. You just set it aside until needed. And here I also have a dried shiitake mushrooms that I have rehydrated in some warm water along with some chestnuts. I'm using dried chestnuts here, but if you can find the fresh ones, that's even better, so you don't have to soak them like this. And I reckon it's also gonna give you an even better flavor. For the shiitake mushroom, all you have to do is take the stem out and slice it thinly like so. Well, actually you can slice it any way you want because we're gonna prepare it the same way as we did with the shimeji mushrooms. And because this mushroom is so big, I'm just gonna slice them in half again to make it easier to eat later. But yeah, the rest of the process is the same as the shimeji mushrooms earlier. Just fry them in some oil for a couple of minutes, add some soy sauce and mirin, and give them a good toss. And once they're caramelized like that, they're ready to go. And we just have to set them aside until needed. And for the chestnut, I'm just gonna slice them thinly so they cook at the same rate as the vegetables. And here I also have some sugar snap peas. I'm just gonna take off the stringy bits and slice them thinly so they cook evenly with the others. I'm also gonna use some red capsicum today. Some of you might call it bell pepper. And I'm just gonna slice it thinly like so, again so they cook evenly. And just gonna cut it in half like that so it's easier to eat. Last but not least, I'm also gonna add some corn to this chawanmushi to give it an extra pop of freshness and sweetness to the whole dish. So this is all I'm gonna put in my vegetarian chawanmushi. And for the beef one, I'm gonna start by thinly slicing some onions and making the sauce for it. It's super simple, just 1 cup of soy sauce to half cup of mirin and half cup of sake, plus 1 cup of dashi. Then just heat the mixture up over medium-high heat and bring it to a boil to get rid of any excess alcohol as well as reducing the sauce down so it's more concentrated. And give it a little taste just to know roughly how much sugar you have to put in. And once it starts boiling, just reduce the heat down to as low as possible, just so the sauce doesn't reduce too much, and then add in some sugar according to your taste. I ended up using about 3 tablespoons of sugar. That should be around 40 grams. You might need more or less depending on the sweet and salty balance you're aiming for. But basically, once you're happy with the sauce, just turn off the heat and let it cool down to room temperature before using it. But if you're impatient like me, you can just set aside a few tablespoons and it will cool down much quickly in a small batch like that. Just bottle the rest of the sauce that you're not using. It's gonna last you about 1 month in the fridge. The beauty of this sauce is that it's so versatile. You can use it in most Japanese dishes, and if you're interested, I'm going to share a Yoshinoya style gyudon using this recipe next week. So don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss that one out. Now for the beef, you'll need some thinly sliced beef like this. This is from Brisket, I believe. But basically, you can find something like this in most Asian groceries. They usually sell it frozen. It doesn't have to be this exact cut as long as it's thinly sliced. They usually label it as beef for sukiyaki or shabu shabu. And for one recipe like this, you would usually need about 2 to 3 slices. And just slice it into smaller chunks so they're easier to eat. Then just add in 2 tablespoons of the sauce that we made earlier and marinate it for at least 10 minutes. And now to cook the beef, we're just gonna combine 2 tablespoons of the sauce from earlier with 2 tablespoons of water. This is just to dilute it a little bit because we're gonna cook it further. Heat up a pan over medium-high heat, add in the sauce along with some of the sliced onions, along with half of the beef that we have marinated earlier. Then basically just simmer them gently over medium heat until the beef is cooked through and the sauce has thickened a little bit. Then just set it aside into a bowl until needed. And finally, the bacon. Just add in 2 slices of bacon into a cold pan. I'm using my homemade bacon today. If you want the recipe, I'm gonna put the link up here so you can go check that out as well. But basically, you just wanna heat them up over high heat like this until they slightly golden brown like so. You don't want this to be extra crispy like your typical bacon. It's nicer for this recipe if you have it on the chewier side. Then just cut up your bacon into smaller chunks like this so it's easier to eat. So for assembly, we would usually use ramekins like this, but today I wanna go extra special and try to use teacup like this to make it a bit more elegant. The assembly process itself is more of a free-for-all. You can add in whatever you like based on the ingredients that you have prepared earlier. You can really customize it to your preference with your chawanmushi. And I'm just gonna add in some of the onions as well here, just to make it extra flavorful. And finally, when you're happy with your bowl, or in my case cup, just top it to the brim with the egg mixture. Cover it in cling wrap. I heard that this makes for a smoother chawanmushi, but I'm not really sure about that. You might have to fact check the science there. But yeah, that's basically it. My first cup of chawanmushi ready, the vegetarian one. Now let's move on to the beef one. What I like to do with this one is to layer some onions and beef one after another like so. And don't worry about putting the beef in raw like this, it's gonna cook properly, trust me. In fact, it's gonna taste better because you're gonna get some extra beef broth in your egg custard. And just like before, cover everything to the brim with the egg mixture and wrap the top with some cling wrap. And last but not least, with the bacon, I'm gonna do the same as I did with the beef. I'm gonna layer in some bacon along with some onions into the cup and just leave a few pieces of bacon for the topping. And again, cover everything with the egg mixture to the brim, put the cling wrap on, and that's it. And now they're ready for the steamer. And I'm also gonna steam some vegetables on the side to be used as a topping for the vegetarian one. So we're just gonna let them steam for 7 minutes, then after that turn off the heat, let the steam escape, put the lid back on, and wait for another 3 minutes. And that's basically it, guys. Take it out of the steamer, and as soon as they're cool enough to handle, just take off the cling wrap. And to see if you've made this properly, just tap the cup on the side like this, and if it wiggles gently in the middle like that, that means you've made the egg custard properly. All that's left now just to decorate them with the toppings that we have prepared earlier, just so it's easier to distinguish them from each other and make them prettier, of course. For the vegetarian, I'm just gonna top them with the steamed vegetables from earlier, as well as a piece of the stir-fried shiitake mushrooms. And for the beef one, just top it with the gyudon or sukiyaki style beef that we made earlier. And I like to drizzle in some of the sauce as well to make it even tastier. And finally, garnish it with a slice of spring onion. And same goes for the bacon. Simply add the bacon on top along with a piece of spring onion, and we're done! Well, not really. I forgot to add a piece of Shimeji mushroom to the beef one earlier. I think they just look nice and taste nice together, you know. And that is it, guys. Our 3 types of chawanmushi: gyudon inspired, vegetarian, and bacon. All that's left to do now is just to give them a proper taste. And here's another way to check if your chawanmushi is done properly. Just scoop it out, and if it looks like tofu like this, that means you've done a really good job. And you should also have a lot of accumulated broth inside. That's where the tasty part is. I mean, that's just pure goodness, guys. Let me give this a try. And wow, that is hot. I burned my tongue, but that's worth it because it's so tasty, guys. I mean, it's so beefy. It tastes just like when you're eating gyudon, and the broth itself tastes so good. Now let's see this one. This one is a bit drier compared to the beef one because it's based on bacon. But look at that, guys. It's so wiggly. It looks like tofu. That's perfection, guys. A warming, soft, silky goodness with broth and bacon. I mean, how can that be not good, right? Now let's try the vegetarian one. I got the feeling that this is gonna be my least favorite one. And it was, but that's only because I prefer meat, of course. I still went in for seconds, as you can see. Really love the stir-fried mushroom in this though, because I think they give it so much more depth. But yeah, I really love all 3 of these. Mainly because the egg custard itself is properly done. So I really do hope you give this recipe a try and let me know if you like it. And as usual, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. See you next week, guys. Cheers!